Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Joe Biden is talking tough. Challenge me at the convention. That's the president's response to Democrats who want to drop him from the presidential campaign.
Now the administration is explaining why a neurologist specializing in Parkinson's disease made multiple visits to the White House. CBN's George Thomas reports.
With Democratic defections growing by the day, the president is now on the offensive, meeting late Monday night with members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Following the meeting, the chair of the CBC said he believes Biden is fit to serve.
I know more than 14 million Americans have already voted for him, including those in my state of Nevada. We need to honor and respect the will of the voters who have selected him as our Democratic nominee.
It comes as the 81-year-old president faces calls from top Democrats to drop out of the race following his first debate performance.
I think he should step aside. I think it's become clear that he's not the best person to carry the Democratic message. And then there are the health care concerns. And look, a lot of Democrats are saying, well, let's move on. Let's stop talking about it. We're not the ones who are bringing it up. Our constituents are bringing it up. The country is bringing it up.
This is not just about whether he gave it the best college try, but rather whether he made the right decision to run or to pass the torch.
Monday, Biden pushed back and called for unity, telling congressional Democrats in a letter that he's firmly committed to his re-election campaign. In a rare move, the president doubling down, taking to the airwaves live, telling MSNBC's Morning Joe that he blames the party's elites for trying to sideline him.
I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But any of these guys don't think I should run against me. Go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Former President Donald Trump, who has not spoken much since the debate, told Fox News that he expects Biden to remain in the race for the White House.
It looks to me like he may very well stay in. He's got an ego and he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to do that. It just looks to me like that's what he wants.
Still, questions about the president's mental and physical state continue to swirl. On Monday, the White House press secretary was repeatedly pressed on why a neurologist and Parkinson's disease specialist made 8 visits to the White House in an 8-month time period.
Has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on.
Meanwhile, some Republican lawmakers want to question the president's personal doctor.
The American people deserve to know whether or not the President of the United States is fully capable of performing his duties.
George Thomas, CBN News.
Well, it may go down in history as one of the biggest political mistakes of all time to agree to a debate in June, this early in the presidential campaign, to say, okay, I'll debate my opponent. The primaries are essentially over. And even though we haven't had nominating conventions to certify those votes, I'm going to go ahead and debate. And the famous quote, anytime, any place. And, it just made it seem like some kind of WWE contest between the two main candidates. But the performance was so abysmal, and you just have to look at it and say, is there a cognitive issue here? You can say he had a cold, you could say he has jet lag, you could say he was overbooked and tired and all of those things, but it still started all these questions, and this is going to dominate the conversation going forward. It's like there's no other issue in the campaign. So again, my take on it, probably the biggest mistake I've ever seen in presidential politics. In other news, Iran has a new president, and so far the regime's deadly actions in the Middle East remain the same. Brody Carter has that story and more from the CBN newsroom. Brody?
Well, Gordon, just 2 days after the election, there's evidence Iran is expanding its war machine. In words and action, Tehran continues to support its proxy war against Israel. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
Iran's new president is described as a moderate, but the U.S. doesn't expect this will change Iran's belligerent behavior in the region. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said, quote, We have no expectation that this election will lead to a fundamental change in Iran's direction or its policies. The State Department labeled the election not free or fair. That earned a rebuke from Iran.
Such politically motivated and meddling remarks are condemned and rejected by the Iranian government and the Iranian people.
Iran's foreign ministry says if a full-scale war breaks out between Hezbollah and Israel, it will side with the terror group.
The Islamic Republic of Iran considers supporting Lebanon, its security, government, people, and resistance a key principle.
We need to think about Hezbollah as the ground troops of Iran in the northern border of Israel. That's the only way to think about it. They're funded, supported, and trained by Iran.
Amiad Cohen serves as a major in the IDF on the Israeli-Lebanese border and founded the Herut Center, an Israeli conservative think tank. He warns the Iranian-backed Hezbollah is a formidable adversary.
Hezbollah is a real army, so it doesn't have tanks. It has a handful of them, but that's not the importance of that. It, first of all, has 150,000 rockets that are from range from 10 kilometers to 500 kilometers. That's across Israel, and they're mostly, the tens of thousands out of them are accurate, which can hurt Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and our cities inside Israel. This is a different war.
Hezbollah's missiles and rocket arsenal is larger than most European nations, and its troops are well trained.
And they're all backed up with the Iranian army, with technology, which Iran has a very good technological army. We know that. To be honest, we're better. We can win this war, but we need to understand who the enemy is. Hamas is a piece of cake compared to Hezbollah.
New evidence supports the growing threat from Iran. Reuters obtained satellite photos showing Iran expanding its missile production facilities that can supply Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. Since October 8th, Hezbollah has fired thousands of rockets and missiles into Israel, leaving dozens of communities in the north deserted and tens of thousands of Israelis from their homes and livelihoods. Many believe it's just a matter of time before a full-scale war will break out between Israel and Hezbollah. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Back here in the States, North American and European leaders are gathering in Washington as the NATO Summit begins in our nation's capital. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the alliance. In the past 15 months, it's expanded, adding Finland and Sweden. Much of this year's summit will focus on growing global threats and how the 32 member states will face them.
But the summit is not going to be a celebratory summit. It's going to be a serious summit, and that's because of the serious context in which it's taking place. Think of the war in Ukraine, in which Russians are actually making small gains as we speak. Think of the violence possibly escalating in the Middle East. Think of China's increasing belligerence in the Indo-Pacific. This makes for a very serious context for allied discussions.
NATO leaders plan to commit to continue arming Ukraine at current levels, at least for another year. Well, next, millions of people are without power after Hurricane Beryl tore through Texas Monday. Beryl battered the Lone Star State with winds up to 90 miles an hour, with heavy rains that dropped as much as 9 inches in some areas. And the winds toppled trees, tangled power lines, while flash floods overtook neighborhoods and roads. Rescue crews have worked tirelessly, delivering dozens of motorists from danger. Tragically, at least 8 people have died. CBN's Caitlin Burke has more on the storm and its aftermath.
Making landfall just south of Houston, Hurricane Beryl moved up through Texas Monday before being downgraded to a tropical storm by late morning. Still, authorities warn this remains a dangerous storm.
Hazardous conditions will persist even after the center of Beryl moves through.
Weather experts consider Beryl unprecedented for so early in the season, largely due to its explosive growth, fueled by record warm temperatures in the Atlantic. National Hurricane Center Director Dr. Michael Brennan says in the days to come, significant rainfall will pose one of the greatest risks, with as much as 15 inches predicted in some parts of Texas.
This red area is where we are likely to see perhaps some significant flash flooding risk. This is a level 3 out of 4 flash flooding risk.
Beryl is the first hurricane to hit Texas in 3 years. CBN's Operation Blessing is on the ground, standing by to help Texans pick up the pieces in the coming days.
We'll use the eyes of those church partners to tell us where the worst damage is, what the needs are, and based on that, we will select a church partner to partner with and decide which actions, whether they be feed, debris cleanup, or tarping houses, whatever the need is, that's what we'll be doing.
Meanwhile, in the Caribbean, aid groups are rushing to provide support to islands like Jamaica, where Beryl hit as a Category 4 hurricane.
There's a great concern for those left homeless and hungry, especially the children. While Jamaica is a tropical paradise, there is much poverty. This is a humanitarian crisis of epic proportions.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
And with so many needs, we can certainly start by praying for Texas. Gordon?
We can, but we can also give. And if you want to give to the disaster relief effort, it's real simple. Pick up the phone and call us, 1-800-700-7000. We have a designated fund. It's called Operation Blessing Disaster Relief. And your gifts will go to the disasters that have happened from Beryl and from other disasters. It's the number of natural disasters in the world today is absolutely staggering, but we want to be there for people in their time of need, and we need your help to do that. So if you want to give, call us, 1-800-700-7000, or you can write to us. Just put Disaster Relief Fund on a memo line of a check to CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. You can text to give, OBDR, or you can go to cbn.com, and there's a place on the giving page where you can designate your gift. Either way, do it right now. 1-800-700-7000.